got pretty decent ice here, you can already tell.
Scott Waldo starts his day checking the ice thickness on Upper Red Lake.
So right there, we're at about 13.
He and his brother Kevin own and run the West Wind Resort on one of the most popular ice fishing lakes in Minnesota. And he's got a lot of work ahead of him. They own about 40 acres with a quarter-mile of shoreline.
I like to go find the thin ice. I don't really care about the thick ice. So if there's spots that are thinner than others, that's what I want to know.
That's because that thin ice has slowed down business.
And usually we're out with trucks and everything by Christmas. And this year is about the first time that I can remember that we haven't been.
Search and rescue Upper Red Lake will now the JR access.
The historically warm winter has caused more than half a dozen ice rescues on Upper Red Lake in less than a month.
Assistance with the airboat headed north to Upper Red Lake.
That's what they typically see in a full season, including this one where 122 anglers had to be rescued off of an ice floe. The Waldo brothers, who are also volunteer firefighters, helped to save them.
We know what we signed up for, and it's our job to help. Whether someone did something wrong or was in the wrong place or didn't listen, that's not really the point. The point is that we're there to help people.
Their rescue trailer, located right on their resort, allows them to answer the call immediately.
If we get the page or we get the call, we're going to go out there and we're going to help them no matter what the situation is.
For me, that was the tipping point, and I didn't sleep at all that night knowing that there were so many lives that were in jeopardy, and then the lives that had to go out and rescue these folks.
According to Beltrami County Sheriff Jason Riggs, that rescue operation took nearly 3 hours. Members of the Sheriff's Office, Kellier Fire, and Minnesota DNR safely transferred 3 people at a time from the detached ice floe to the shoreline.
Approximately 100 people stuck in the lake.
All 122 people survived.
I can't protect everybody, but we got to make decisions that are smart and take into account the best for everyone. And my first responders mean a lot to me.
So far this season, 2 people have died while ice fishing. One drowning on Cass Lake just this week, the other on Lake of the Woods when their vehicles broke through the ice. Sheriff Riggs made the decision to ban vehicles on Upper Red Lake during its peak season. How difficult was that for you as a sheriff to make that decision?
Well, the decision wasn't easy, but it was one of those things where if I wouldn't have done something and something would have happened to one of our, anglers up there on my watch, I would have not been able to live with myself knowing that I could have done something to prevent that.
The sheriff, along with members of Kellier Fire and Minnesota DNR, meet weekly and send teams to check ice safety.
So we'll check the ice. Usually I just try to find a spot anywhere.
They say we're 2 months behind. The ice thickness right now is typical of what we see in November.
The big thing with Red Lake is the ice itself is inconsistent in the way that the whole lake isn't solid yet.
Resort owners say it's this pressure ridge that anglers should be very careful about, marking this area with X's so that they don't go beyond this point.
Until those areas clean up and get completely solidified, it's just going to continue to move around, and that's what's been the problem on that lake.
We know why they made that choice. They're looking out for the public safety of everyone, and we understand that both as a resort and firefighters. We know that that's the number one thing, and business comes second, and we understand that.
While the vehicle restriction is impacting business this season, resort owners say for the most part, anglers understand.
I think that if you live here, you're always concerned about the ice conditions and you pay close attention to what the resort people tell you.
Robin Dwight has lived and fished on Upper Red Lake with her family for nearly a decade. She says it's part of Minnesota winter culture to be on the ice.
We don't go to a warm climate in the winter. We just wait for this beautiful time of year to come about so that we can get out there on the ice and have a great time. Having these volunteers that are so dedicated to keeping this community safe and all the people who come to visit our community is just priceless.
You can see where there's an X over there. I had a spot where it was thinner earlier this year and I marked it, and then I would just consistently go back and check it.
And no one knows these lakes better.
So this was open water at one point, probably about a week ago, and further down there's some other stuff out here you can see that was open.
Then those whose livelihoods depend on the ice being safe.
We've seen a lot of things, but this one's new. So I think this is just a fluke year.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like I said, in 20 years I haven't seen it, but I mean, who knows? Things change.